Are you ready to jump into some true crime docs, crime thrillers, and more? Check out our website for an extensive list of our favorite movies and shows at thesirenspodcast.com/whatwewatch and find our favorite true crime and thriller books and authors, some covered on the show, at thesirenspodcast.com/author alley. You can even find special deals for Amazon Music, Audible, Discovery Plus, Paramount Plus, Showtime, and even Grubhub. If you're looking to jump in immediately, check out our pinned Facebook post for some streaming service free trials on us.
You're listening to Sirens, a true crime podcast, brought to you by the Sirens Network. This podcast contains explicit content, so listener discretion is advised. The opinions expressed on this podcast are solely the views of the hosts and do not reflect the views of affiliates, associates, or sponsors of this podcast. This is Sirens, a true crime podcast.
And you said you heard gunshots?
Yes, like...
How many shots did you hear?
More than 10, I can tell you.
More than 10? Okay, and did you hear anything after the gunshots?
No.
No?
As soon as I heard that, we ran.
Okay.
We were leaving the club, and then as soon as we left, gunshots were just going like crazy.
Are you near Pulse Nightclub?
No, I'm home. My son is stuck in the bathroom down there, and I got him on the other phone. I called before, but they called the dispatchers, and all the lines were busy.
Ma'am, the phones have rolled over to the sheriff's office. They've got multiple officers and deputies on scene working the call right now, okay? Is he injured in any way, do you know?
Okay.
Ma'am, what I need him to do is just stay where he is. Don't go anywhere or do anything until the deputies and officers clear the area, okay? Just have him stay where he is.
Okay.
Okay, they've got, like I said, multiple deputies and OPD officers on scene, okay? Just tell him to stay where he is, stay tight, and follow the officers and deputies' directions.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Not directly here, but I'm hearing gunshots all over the place. Okay, yes, we've got an active incident going on. Do you have any information? Like, did you see anything or anything? I have seen a white car drive by our house twice now, I believe, at least that I've actually seen. Okay. Do you think this car is involved, or do you just think it's suspicious? No, I would say it's involved in some form.
Okay, a shot just hit the door of the place that I'm working in.
A shot hit your door? All right, let me try and get OPD back on the line. We're getting several calls. They're getting flooded with it.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Over there, he told me that he cannot get off over there. He didn't like.
Where is he right now?
He's over there. He said he cannot get off.
Did he say where he is? Like, physically inside there?
He's in the second floor. Well, I'm calling about my brother because he's in there.
What's your brother's name?
His name is, and when he called us, he was in the bathroom, and he said that there's a lot of dead people, and I don't know.
Okay, I understand. We are in the club. We're searching for everybody. We're pulling victims out. Please just have patience. How old is he?
He's 20.
He was in the bathroom?
Yeah, he was in the bathroom with some other people.
Listen, please be patient. It's going to take a while before we, figure out where everybody's at, okay? As soon as we find them, I'm going to take your information, and we're going to call you.
Hi. Suppose there was a shooting in Pulse, Orlando, and on social media we've seen it. One of our friends sent us a text and said that he's been shot and he's in the bathroom and no one sees him.
Did he say anything else?
That's all he said. All he said is he was in the bathroom and they walked right by him.
The message, we called him because he posted on Facebook that he had got shot. So we said, is everything okay? He said, got shot 3 times. We said, where are you? And the response was, in bathroom. Tell them to check the bathroom. I don't even know what's going on. I just saw it all on social media, and that's why we reached out to him, because we knew he was there.
I just got home from the Club Pulse. It's a gay club on
Yeah.
Orange Ave. It's 1912 South Orange Avenue.
Yeah.
When I got home, my friends texted me and told me that there was a shooting going on. A lot of my friends got shot. They were in the bathroom. They told me to call somebody. The cops are not with them. My friend got shot 3 times. Nobody's helping me. I'm home. I'm not at the club. I can't do nothing.
Okay, so you're not there any longer. So you're at home.
No, right?
And your friend is in the bathroom, and he has been shot.
He said he got shot 3 times.
Okay. Okay, deputies are there.
There's multiple people in there. I'm shooting.
There's a lot of people, yes. There's a lot of people, and they're working on it. So you left before the shooting?
Yeah, once I got home, I left like around 15 minutes before the shooting. I got home, like 10 minutes later, I got calls from all my friends asking if I'm okay. They told me what happened. Now, I called all my friends to make sure what happened, and my friend told me he got shot 3 times. He's in the bathroom for me to help. I'm not there. I can't do nothing.
Only one bathroom there, or there's more than one?
No, there's 3 of them.
Do you know which one he's at? Did he say?
I have no idea. I tried to say bye to him when I left. I couldn't find him, so I left home. There's 3 of them.
My brother just texted me right now. He says he's in there, and there's been a shooting, and there's a lot of people dead.
We are working an incident at the Pulse Nightclub. Where's your brother located in the club? Did he say?
No. I've been trying to text, but he said he can't talk.
The shooting that's going on downtown,
Yes.
My ex-girlfriend is hiding in the bathroom at the club Pulse. She said there's people hiding in the bathroom there, she's in there, and there's dead people there. My girlfriend is hiding on the club Pulse, where people are shot and dead, and there's like 18 people hiding in the bathroom. Are you guys sending anybody there?
We have a lot of deputies there. We're trying to get everybody else safe. We have SWAT inside going inside each building. Did she text you, each room? Did she text you anything else? Or?
No, all she texted me, there's like 18 people, 2 are dead, and they're in the bathroom. She doesn't know if it's a female or male bathroom, and they're all scared to death, and they all think they're going to die. She's saying that the shooters are there.
She's saying the shooter's in the bathroom with her?
No, all she texted me right now is that she's saying that the shooters are here. The shooters are here. So I don't know if they're in the bathroom with her now or if they're just in the club.
My brother is in there. His position right now is in the unisex bathroom. He's telling me there's already 4 dead in there.
And you said he's telling you that there were 4 dead there?
Yeah, and there are a lot of them that are wounded in there.
Okay.
And there's already 4 dead.
They need to shelter where they are. And if the suspect is there, he needs to keep himself safe. So if he needs to put the phone down so he doesn't see that he has the phone, then that's what he needs to do.
Yeah, he's like going on and off, on and off. I guess he's hiding the phone or whatever.
Right, probably. That's probably the case.
It's the Pulse Nightclub. My girlfriend's in the bathroom. There are now 4 dead in the bathroom and 2 shot. They're bleeding now. If somebody doesn't get there soon, they're going to die. It's the 5th time I'm calling you guys and telling you the same information, and it's been over half an hour now, and there's no cops inside the club.
Did you find out which bathroom she's in?
She doesn't know. She ran into a bathroom. She doesn't know if it's female or male. She doesn't know if it's the back of the club or in the front of the club. All she knows that now there's 4 dead, and there's 2 shots. They're bleeding out. They're about to die.
Yes, my son was shot in the club in the Pulse in Orlando, and he's still in the bathroom when he's bleeding. He got shot, and nobody's going in for him.
Do you know which bathroom he's in?
He's in the Pulse. He's in the club. He's in the bathroom.
Yeah, no, I understand. There's several bathrooms, though. Do you know which one he's in?
I don't know what bathroom, no.
Okay.
Nobody's going in for him.
No, we do have lots of help out there. They're trying to get into the place.
I know.
Okay, and do you know where he was shot at?
I don't know where he was shot. No, I don't know. There's a friend of his that's a doctor, and she's studying for a doctor, and she's there with him.
Okay, is she trying to control the bleeding?
Yeah, she's trying to control the bleeding and that.
Okay, are you still talking?
Where's the medic?
That was the released Pulse 911 phone calls that several people made that night. And as you can tell, today, on the 6-year anniversary, we are talking about the Pulse shooting in Orlando, Florida, that happened on June 12th, 2016. I have with me today Simon Vaughn.
Hello.
He and I are going to talk about this case with you. I know that we normally talk about Oklahoma and Texas. We are a Southern true crime podcast, so we thought this one was kind of important to talk about. Florida's still Southern, so here we are. That's what we're going to talk about today. We are celebrating Pride Month, and talking about these victims is how we are going to do that.
Over the rainbow, baby. Let's do it.
That weekend actually had another tragedy. I don't know if you remember this, but Christina Grimmie was shot that weekend, and that came first.
Oh, I remember.
For those of you who don't know who Christina Grimmie is, I knew her from YouTube. I loved her YouTube videos, but she actually auditioned on The Voice, and I think she came out like third on it. She did a really great duet with Ed Sheeran.
Oh, there you go.
Ed Sheeran. The night of one of her concerts, a just random fan walked up and shot her, is what I believe. I didn't look too much into that because that's not what we're talking about today, but that's how the weekend started.
Yeah.
And I believe that was also in Orlando. I believe it was at an Orlando theater. And then Saturday night was Latin night at Pulse. Pulse was one of the best-known gay clubs there in Orlando.
If you look back over the pictures of it, it looks like one hell of a club.
Yeah.
It looked like it used to be just an absolute wonderful place.
Yes, probably really fun. I imagine it being sort of like that place in the birdcage.
La Cage aux Faux.
Yeah. Just like you could just go in there and not, at least us straight girls could go in there and not be bothered by anyone.
The point of them actually are in that regard. There are exclusively, in certain circles, they're referred to as cis gay clubs.
Yeah.
Because then that gets into a trans argument.
Yeah.
But then that's the same for anywhere when it comes down to it, because then you could argue that's the same, like that's a joke that I've made with other friends before. It's like, so you mean a gentleman's club, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Exactly.
It's like, all right.
100% what you just said.
Yeah, when I was younger, every time I went into a strip club that was called a gentleman's club, I have to admit, I felt a little cheated.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's nice and all,
extremely cheated. There were no gentlemen in sight.
Exactly. And also, I don't care what a lot of ladies have said over the years. Chippendales dancers are not that pretty. They really weren't. It's like, and you know who was actually sexier in that outfit? I will defend this to my dying day. Chris Farley. Personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's personality and it's movement, and he was sexier than any other Chippendales dancer.
He could move. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
He could move.
Also, there's never been a more muscular, large man. So.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Chris Farley was ripped as hell. He just was big.
He just had a little packaging
made out of, malt hops and bong resin. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. Love you to death.
Yeah. It was a really, really popular place to be, and they had different themed nights all the time, and this one was Latin night, and obviously the place was absolutely packed. All different kinds of people there. Gay, straight, black, white, Latina.
Have you ever had the benefit of going to a gay club on a very busy or big, like a big one?
I have only been to one gay club. I went with my gay brother, and he took me to a drag show, and it was like this big, huge thing.
But I love drag shows.
But I also know that is not like a typical gay club night.
It's not. No.
It's like very eventful for them.
It's basically carnival.
It was wonderful.
When there's a drag show going on, it's like get ready to like the rest of the night.
I think
it's just going to be nothing but wonder.
We drove 2 hours to go to this, and it was totally worth it. 100% worth it. Yeah. So no, that's it.
You see, this is one of the biggest problems with a lot of idiots. One of the problems with most idiots out there is that they think that all gay clubs are places where everybody is going and fucking.
Yeah.
They're not.
No.
That's a sex club.
Yeah.
Those are very different things.
Yeah.
That's a very different thing. And a gay club is usually, half of them are safe spaces.
Mm-hmm.
They literally are. It's like, no, you don't have to be gay to come in here.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to want to party.
Yeah.
Now come in and party.
And you have
it's
to,
fine.
and you have to want to do it without malice.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
the only
it.
requirements.
Yeah. You know what's over the rainbow? A bunch of really cool people who want you to either, not be a dick or maybe learn how to accessorize.
Yeah.
It's not that fucking hard.
So there was all different kinds that night, and they were having a big party there. They were celebrating Latin night. They had people there from Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the U.S. They were doing salsa dancing and like all kinds of stuff there.
Listen, nightclub salsa scenes, by the way.
I would love to see.
That is the fastest way to lose 30 pounds. I'm not going to lie. Because whether you can dance or not, you will by the end of the night. It is so hard not to dance at one of those.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. So we're going to start just before the shooting began.
Oh, boy. Back to the sad part.
Yeah. Back to the sad. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. I forgot why I was here for a second. My apologies.
I'm sorry. So we're going to start with 28-year-old Ashley Summers and her friends went to the bartender Kate at Pulse's back bar. So they had 3 bars.
That's fairly standard for more compound style. Not to imply anything, but
yeah.
more large nightclubs.
Yeah.
There are separate bars that will be they'll have their own identity. Half the time.
Yes, because there was one, I believe, out on the patio. There was one in the main room, and then there's one in the back where there was a stage, and that's where they did events like we were talking about.
No, you have to have a big line bar near the stage.
Yeah, so
because also for the stage you can put stairs next to the bar.
Yes,
and then it gets really good.
And there were also 3 bathrooms in the club. There was only one entrance at the front of the club, and it was kind of like its own room. And you walk in, and you did have to pay that night. I believe it was a $10 entry to get in. And there was like a ticket taker person that would sell you. And then you went in. You could not access the patio from outside. You had to like go in and then go around and go through to the patio.
So there's a privacy wall.
Yes, and the privacy wall, I do believe, had a gate in it, but I think it was locked because I think that's how they got there. I'm not sure, but
that's probably alcohol.
It's like,
at that point. That's an easy access to deliveries.
You can't. Yes, and also you can't have people just like walking off.
Yeah, you can't
patio.
do that. No.
There were other emergency doors. I do not know the status of those doors. Now, I was a bartender for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was a very shitty bar that I worked in. And there were 2 accesses, one from the lobby of the hotel and then one that went literally outside. He always had that door locked. It was always chained. And that is literally against the fire marshal rules. You have to have an exit. I do not know the status of these exit doors, but
I can tell you
based on my experience, it wouldn't surprise me if some of them were locked off or something like that.
100% agree with you for one very big reason. The other problem with being a patron at one of these places and just being able to relax and know you're in a safe space is hard enough. Now imagine being the proprietor. I don't doubt in any way, shape, or form they probably were locked.
Yeah.
To try to prevent things like this
at least
happening.
I believe there were 3 emergency exits, and I would bet at least 2 of them were locked.
If someone really wants to do something, they'll have the bolt cutters beforehand to do it.
Yeah. On our website, thesirenspodcast.com/case files, I did upload the FBI report. It's a 2-part report.
I had not had a chance to read that yet.
It was long, and so I kind of just skimmed through it. And like when you skim through things, if you're not looking for it, sometimes you just like go right over it. So, but I do have those. If you guys want to look at those, you can hop on there and you can take a look at those yourself. Yeah. So we're going to go back to Ashley Summers, and she is going up to the bartender at the Pulse's back bar to order one more round. Now, I do also have photos. I have a photo of the of Pulse and the layout of Pulse. I do have a couple more photos on there of where people were found. So if you want to see that, that's on there on the website as well. So she goes to the back bar. She orders a soda, a vodka, soda, and lime.
That's an excellent dancing drink, by the way.
Also a vodka and Red Bull for a friend.
That friend needs to sit down.
And a specialty drink for another.
It means they couldn't remember what it was.
One of Ashley's friends was polishing the credit card receipt with all sorts of pleasantries for the bartender. Stuff like sexy kitten and mwah, you're the best, and stuff like that, when the shooting actually started. Now, for 15 seconds, through the pulsing of the salsa music, they thought it might have been like fireworks. Like, we're literally having a party.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah. And so they eventually figured out the hard way that it was gunshots. Ashley said that she pulled a friend to the ground with her, and they felt glass and stuff shattering around them. They were near a back exit, and they crawled out. Okay, so there it is. At least that back exit was open.
Okay.
Concerned about what might have been behind the 7-foot-high white privacy fence out back, they turned left into a storage area where they heard more gunshots coming from that direction. So they backed out, went back to the patio, and used some of the furniture to literally jump the fence.
So they went out the patio door.
They went out the patio door. So I'm guessing that the back bar we're talking about here is the one in the center of the building. They were able to literally jump over the fence and dash to safety. Ashley said at one point it was shock, it was disbelief, it was fear, but it was urgency. There was knowing that we had to get out of there. She was also a ballroom dance instructor. Just cool little thing about her. Yeah.
I've heard every mythological gay slur that you can imagine under the sun, as far as like, yeah, they lay eggs, or they come out only at night to do their awful things.
It's a weird thing to say.
This was right around the time that a lot of fine young murderers were really getting instigated to do things like these. And you would hear things that were seriously bordering on the supernatural about queer people.
Well, I didn't know they were so powerful.
Yeah, but we are, but
fantastically powerful.
Seriously, like, do you have the capability of shooting this many rainbows out of your ass and looking this good?
I do not.
Damn straight.
I do not. I can tell you that.
But no, the thing is, with this one, I've heard a lot of people say ridiculous things. It's the same way that other people have justified in their minds racist things before. Like, oh, well, their brains aren't as big as ours. Or their genetics are fundamentally weaker than ours.
Stupid shit.
Yeah, you say that, Bucktooth Gumpus, but I mean, listen, just because, your mom might be your aunt doesn't mean that doesn't make strength, son.
Yeah.
For attacking when he did, these are where you hear the people thinking and working along the lines of, if I go when it's about to close, I have the optimum amount of a higher body count with less resistance.
That would have been when the most people were probably the most inebriated at the time.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Went to a place that was guaranteed to be packed to have the highest visual impact. That was his modus. That's what he wanted. In this case, what this person wanted was to be able to take as many people with the possibility of getting away.
Well, and most people who are inebriated can't even walk a straight line, let alone run from gunfire.
And end of the night, those people are absolute targets.
Yeah. The first shots happened around 2 a.m., and all of this is coming from, most of it is coming from the FBI report, like the timeline and everything like that. So around 2:02, Orlando police received multiple reports.
God, those were
we
hard to listen to.
We just listened to a lot of them who called 911, saying that shots had been fired at Pulse. The first bursts of gunfire were captured on video by a 25-year-old named Amanda Alvier. The footage was actually uploaded to Snapchat.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't think she meant to. because it starts with people dancing and having a good time, and it's her. It's like a selfie cam kind of situation, and then you can hear the gunfire, and she just kind of stops like, wait, what? And then it kind of cuts off. So I don't know if she meant to upload that
Probably
or not.
But also, back about 6 years ago, Snapchat was incredibly invasive once you had it uploaded onto anything. You like half the time you couldn't do anything on it without it posting.
And then around that same time, an off-duty officer who was working there, I am guessing as a bouncer, he engaged in gun battle with the shooter. This comes from the police chief of Orlando, John Mina. He says that they exchanged gunfire, and this security guard was then joined by an unknown number of police officers who were the first to arrive on the scene. He says, quote, the suspect at some point went back inside the club where more shots were fired. After that, additional officers had arrived literally 2 minutes later at 2:04 a.m. and entered Pulse 4 minutes later, exchanging fire with the attacker again. During these early rounds of gunfire, police said many patrons were able to escape. Also, many were not. There was a man there named Norman Cassiano. So when the shots erupted, Norman Cassiano dropped to his knees and crawled to what was apparently a different bathroom, seeking safety in a stall where many people were already in there crammed together. He tried to call 911, then his mom. All his mom could hear was him just screaming mom over and over again. And then the call dropped. Cassiano said the gunman didn't say anything, and he was literally just laughing as people begged him not to shoot them. He assured the gunman that he didn't know who he was and he hadn't seen his face, so he could let him live. All he heard at that time was laughter. He laughed, quote, like an evil laugh, something that's just going to be imprinted in my head forever. When the gunman left the bathroom, Cassio tried to urge others to leave, he said, but was unable to slip away and escape. 2:09 a.m., a warning appeared on the club's Facebook page that said, quote, everyone get out of Pulse and keep running.
Yeah.
As soon as Angel Cologne heard the gunshots, he and his friends ran for their lives. But Angel was actually shot 3 times. He fell and then was trampled. All around him, he heard gunshots and he cried for help. He said, quote, I could see him shooting at everyone and I can hear the shots getting closer. And I look over and he shoots the girl next to me. I'm just lying down and I'm thinking, I'm next. I'm dead. Another man, Ray Rivera, he said, quote, all hell broke loose, people running for the door, jumping over the gates. He was also the DJ there that night, a.k.a. DJ Infinite, who had been playing music that night on the patio area. He took cover behind his booth, shielded 2 others, and was able to flee to safety. Others had barricaded themselves inside bathroom stalls. They recall, just not wanting to speak or make any noise. And they just sat in there in silence, texting loved ones for help. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear any calls from anyone who was actually inside the building, and I don't know why. I don't know if those just weren't released. I do know that they were texting a lot of family and friends for help. The gunman actually paced around the rear of the club at that time, laughing and shooting at people who were already on the ground, whether they were dead or not.
Get a life, kid.
A SWAT team was called in at 2:18. There is footage of it. I have it linked on the website. You can go and watch it there. It just didn't translate very well to audio, so...
As someone going into the emergency medical services myself, I can safely say I look forward to the day we get them.
I do too, honestly.
I absolutely do, because while I have my own feelings about authorities, as I have maybe accidentally expressed with you here a couple of times, at the end of the day, that's how good people also get shown to be good people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Be you a police officer or not.
I think maybe it keeps everyone safer for the most part.
It removes the ambiguity.
Well, there's a lot of things that have happened in recent years that if we didn't have that cam footage, we would have never been able to prove it.
God, can you imagine growing up in the... No. Can you imagine growing up in southeast central Oklahoma with a group of officers who had to have body cams. Can you imagine? Yeah, me neither.
I'm just thinking about all of the Ada police officers over the years.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Could you imagine?
Right.
Like, would any of the things in Ada have taken place if they had freaking body cams on them? Probably not.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So then at 2:35 a.m., about half an hour after the shooting began, the shooter himself made several 911 calls. We are going to listen to those, so brace yourself now.
Buckling up.
Emergency 911, this is Oscar Lines being recorded.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
What?
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. I want to let you know I'm in Orlando, and I did the shooting.
What's your name?
My name is, I pledge of allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi of the Islamic State. By the way, there's some vehicles outside that have some bombs, just to let you know. Your people are going to get it, and I'm going to ignite it if they try to do anything stupid.
Okay, I understand that, and I'll pass that along. Can you tell me what vehicle? Because I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No. Well, you need to know that they need to stop bombing Syria and Iraq. The U.S. is collaborating with Russia, and they're killing innocent women and children, okay?
I hear what you're saying.
My homeboy, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, did his thing on the Boston...
He literally put himself in the same room as the Boston bombers.
Yeah. And that was kind of like a compilation. So he called initially at 2:35 and he said that initial statement. Then he called again. And I want to let you know, I didn't cut that off. Those are him cutting himself off for the most part. So 2:48, he made another phone call, and then 3:03, and then 3:24 a.m. The last time he called, and the last call that he made was not released, and it is because at that time he was in the bathroom holding hostages. We have a man named Mr. Orlando. He said he listened to the gunman who warned the hostages not to text anyone. He took their cell phones. Orlando also described moments of surreal quiet. The killer kind of fiddled with his weapon and used the sink and used the hand dryer, but it was just like, other than that, totally and utterly quiet.
Listen, it's creepy enough being in like a closed building's bathroom anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't exactly know how big these bathrooms were. They weren't small bathrooms.
Oh no. Nightclub bathrooms tend to be quite supportive of a lot of urine.
Yeah. So I know that they were large enough to hold like 20 people at once.
Yeah.
Because at one point there was like 20 people in one bathroom.
That's pretty common.
At that time, the shooter also checked on bodies around him. There were some that were deceased. And at one point, Orlando switched positions and just played dead. And he felt something poking him. He believed it was the gunman checking to see if he was dead. He didn't know because he didn't check because he was playing dead. So the police had breached the main area fairly early on, way before he had barricaded himself in the bathroom with these hostages. And of course, they were checking to see if they had anyone alive. They were getting them out of the building if they could. They were also taking precautions because they did not know at the time where the shooter was. They didn't know if he had left or if he was, they were going through doing room checks as they were also trying to check on a bunch of these people. And while the shooting was happening, there was a lot of people who said that they also played dead. That at some points it didn't matter because he was still going around shooting people who were already like either gone or playing dead or whatever. He was just shooting whatever was in his way. Around 5 a.m., the police made the decision. I don't know where this decision came from. I didn't see anything on where they collaborated on this decision or why it was the best decision. But at around 5 a.m., the police blew a hole into the bathroom wall. They began to get hostages out, and the confrontation with the gunman was fatal.
Yeah.
There was a lot of I don't know whys for why they decided to bomb the wall, because if their whole thing was trying to keep the hostages safe, bombing a wall that you don't know who's next to is probably not the best way to go about it.
Did they happen to list what kind of measure they used?
It might be in the FBI report. We can look.
Because it depends. If it's a low yield directional explosive, that actually is used for that purpose with minimal casualties. What it does is it destabilizes a surface without blasting a hefty amount of force into a place.
Yeah.
Which, regardless, if you're in an enclosed area, it can still wreck you.
Oh, yeah.
But it's one of those things that it's a thing that actually is employed.
He actually says, you already know what I did. And then he tells them that he has a vest on, a suicide vest on, basically. And he says the kind of vest used in France.
Wow.
Now, if we remember correctly, not long before that, there was that bombing in Paris at that concert.
That was messed up.
Yeah.
Just as bad as this.
Oh, yeah. He told them that, and they assumed that it was a suicide vest, one that had bombs strapped to it in some way.
Depending on the type of vest, it just depends on what the explosive was, because regardless, if they didn't know what it was, no, there's not a lot of justification to blow open a wall.
Yeah.
If they did know, if he did release to them like any suspicion, if it was like homemade plastique or something along those lines,
yeah,
you all can talk to the FBI on your own web searches, okay? It's like, I just have a lot of military friends. That's all there is to it. If it's a compound explosive in the first place,
yeah,
you can shoot that with a gun and nothing will happen.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It comes down to the actual detonator, the actual, the whole hookup.
Right. So they must not have known what kind of detonation
correct
it was.
I mean, most of your homegrown morons like this typically do the pipe bomb thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I'm literally looking at the FBI report, and I don't see any specifics on that.
Then this was exactly what it was. This was that idiot escalated himself from domestic terrorist to it's the sledgehammer version of a flashbang is technically what they did in this case. They knocked a hole in the wall that surprised
that they could
him.
And they could see through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a negative opinion about this as well. I'm not supporting it at all.
No, I think that was a really dangerous move for the hostages.
I think it was a move that didn't care about the hostages.
That's kind of where I'm getting at.
That's what we're talking about, so we absolutely can here.
Yeah. 3:24 was the last phone call that the shooter made, and then 4:21, about an hour later, there was a dressing room that the police found a window to that they removed an air conditioning unit from and started pulling hostages out there. And then at 4:29, victims were being rescued. They told the police that the shooter said he was going to put 4 vests with bombs on victims within 15 minutes.
He didn't have those.
Well, no, he wasn't seen with them at all.
He did this to actually escalate his thing up for news. This was a person planning to die.
I should mention, by the way, that by this time, police had found his vehicle, the shooter's vehicle, and they had searched it, and there were no explosive devices in it or vests or anything like that.
Correct.
So, at 5:02, SWAT and OCSO hazardous device team began to breach the wall with, quote, explosive charges and armored vehicles to make entry. By 5:14, radio communications state that shots were fired. At 1 minute later, 5:15 a.m., they state that they engaged with the suspect, and the suspect was reported down. Based on radio communication and this FBI report, there were no reports of shots being fired inside of Pulse between the initial exchange of gunfire between responding officers and the shooter and the time of the final breach. So during that time, the shooter communicated with the 911 operator and the crisis negotiator, and radio communications reported that the victims were being rescued. There's a photo on the website that has red dots for where all the bodies were found inside, and one on the patio. So there were 20 bodies found on the main dance floor. There were 3 bodies found on the stage. There was 1 in the lobby, 1 on the patio, and 13 total in the bathrooms. So you had 6 in one bathroom, 7 in another bathroom, and I believe the rest in the other bathroom. So his name was Omar Mateen, the shooter. He identified himself as an Islamic soldier. He is believed to have spent time online.
What a fucking shocker.
He was apparently doing a bunch of, quote, research, searching the Facebook page, watching Pulse Orlando, and he had in his search history...
That thing that everybody deletes all the time.
Yeah. In his search history, he had Pulse Orlando and shooting. So the hostages were in there for, 3 hours before they were brought out. And one of them who was in there that we talked about before, Cassiano, he was huddled in there together. A wounded man staggered into the bathroom and dropped to the floor. They urged him to stay quiet. At one point, as the gunman approached, he said he could hear shells clattering to the floor, and he could hear him reloading the gun. He says, quote, he was just firing. He said in an interview, he was hit once in the back and felt a hot pulse of pain tear into him as if his leg had been severed. He ended up being shot twice in the back, both bullets passing through his body completely. He said he and his friend positioned themselves on a toilet, and he had braced one foot against the stall door so they couldn't get in. And around this time, Mina Justice was asleep at home when she received a text from her 30-year-old son, Eddie Justice. He was also hiding in the bathroom at the club. The first text reads, "Mommy, I love you."
No, it's okay.
Sorry. I just, can't imagine my grown son.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't expect that one.
Pause. It's okay.
That message came at 2:06 a.m. The next says, "In the club, they shooting." Only 2 minutes later, he wrote, "I'm gonna die." After 30 minutes would pass before he sent a text begging for help. He says, "Call them, Mommy, hurry. He's in the bathroom with us." He got mad and hung up, Orlando said. I can't remember who it was. I feel like it was the shooter's father. I could be wrong. Who later stated that he started researching doing this to Pulse because he had recently seen 2 gay men kissing, and it upset him.
Yeah.
Okay, so near the end of the siege, Mateen began shooting the hostages in the bathroom, Orlando said. By some miracle, he once again avoided detection, but a person in the neighboring stall wasn't so lucky. A man who had just been shot crawled under the stall, grasping at both Orlando and his companion's legs, pulling them down and exposing their hiding spot. They played dead. He said, "My face was against the toilet bowl. I could see his feet, scooting back as he heard the police outside." At 5:02 a.m., the SWAT team entered. They breached with the explosives. And, quote, "The last thing that I heard before the police said, move away from the walls," because obviously they were about to bust through again. The shooter said, "Hey, you," to someone on the floor inside the bathroom, and shot them, shot another person, and then shot another person who had happened to be directly behind me. Then the wall was broken, and hostages began to emerge, and so did the shooter. He was literally still shooting people the second before they busted through that wall.
Mm-hmm. That's a controlled detonation. That is something that actually has been a tactic for a very long time. For more supplied SWAT teams and programs don't support a world that requires that in the first place. It's that's not good.
Yeah. So the suspect came out of that hole himself, armed with a handgun and a long gun.
Morbid curiosity at this point. Did they identify what type of guns he was utilizing?
So I can tell you what they are.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, so you'll have to correct me. The first one, the rifle, was an AR-15 style magazine. It was the Sig Sauer MCX rifle.
Yep, Sig Sauer.
Sig Sauer, a .223 caliber.
Yep. Okay, that was the other choice.
Apparently, it's common.
It is insanely common. I'm not saying he got it from Walmart, but that falls into the same.
But you could.
It's the same category.
Yeah. The magazine capacity in that is 30 rounds, and I do not know how many magazines he had with him.
My big thing is, as I've said before on your show, I am a gun enthusiast. I'm a firearm enthusiast.
Yeah.
I'm a weapons history enthusiast. I'm also I'm a gun safety and gun use enthusiast. I do actually support people having the ability and the knowledge and the capability of acquiring firearms and acquiring training to get them. What I have a fucking problem with is being able to be a dipshit who makes way too much money and go into a fucking grocery store and buy a fucking automatic rifle.
So maybe that is also my problem as well. Because, I think that's just that you shouldn't be able to go into a grocery store and buy something like that. And you should, before you are even able to carry something like that, have some sort of extensive training where you have been cleared to use that, whatever weapon it is.
I believe training is necessary, but also
background checks.
My big problem is just that, we live in Oklahoma. While I know that you have the capacity to protect yourself, in this case, let me ask you a question. Would you ever, in your mind, consider a home defense from something that's full automatic?
I don't think so. I'd much rather have a shotgun, honestly.
Right?
I really would.
Right?
If you're going to step foot in my home, you're going to be close range to me. I'm going to make sure that you're not going anywhere after I shoot you.
In this regard, we can break it down also logically.
Yeah.
Because guns serve a function. They have a purpose. Their design is and I'm not going to just leave it with the whole it's to kill people.
Yeah.
But that is true.
But it's how
the delivery is done, and that implies the intent.
Exactly.
With a shotgun has numerous uses. It actually, as a weapon, it has numerous uses. Likewise, handguns. Handguns have a very specific purpose, which is defense and assault. But that's me not being opinionated. That's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
I am a long gun enthusiast. I love rifles. I always have. I like target shooting. I have a friend that I still go out into the middle of the boonies to shoot cans. It's when we play at being rednecks for a little while. And I can safely say I very much love doing that. I'm terrible at it, but I love doing that. At no point have I ever felt the need to hold a trigger down and let 30 rounds escape in the span of 5 seconds.
Yep, exactly.
Because of just, I guess, a different in aesthetics.
Yeah.
It comes down to, I understand the function of practical automatic weaponry.
Yeah.
That function is war.
Exactly.
That is its function.
Exactly.
A handgun has a function.
Yep.
A shotgun has a function. A long rifle has a function. If you live in Oklahoma, a long rifle is just as beneficial, depending on where you are, as a shotgun. We still have dangerous animals out here. It's scary. But that's a big deal in that regard. It's like what you can do with a 5-round long rifle out here, these people largely justify doing with a full automatic.
Yeah.
Because anybody can spray and pray.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Yes, exactly. And the other gun, by the way, was a Glock 17 9mm.
Of course it was.
9mm
semi-automatic. Of course it was a fucking Glock. It's always a goddamn Glock.
Yeah, it has a standard magazine capacity of 17 rounds. Now, I don't know if he actually fired that one. The only one that I know he fired for sure was the rifle.
Here's the problem with the Glock. The Glock is one of the most efficient and effective firearms in handheld variety that has ever been created because it maims the bullet. It disfigures the round. It has minimal rifling. It is designed to make it as lethal as possible.
Ah, okay.
When it comes out, it deforms the round. It's designed for close quarters combat at all times. And when that bullet hits you, it can turn a regular 9mm round into behaving like a hollow point because of how bad it deforms the bullet. It's super easy to buy, and they're super cheap in comparison to a lot of other fancier guns.
Yeah.
And the bullets are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And there's this weird good old boy gun cult about the Glock. And honestly, I think it goes back to the Tommy Lee Jones movie, U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
It's like, because Tommy Lee Jones has been, literally was the best advertisement for handguns ever in that movie. I mean, unfortunately, everything he said about that gun is 100% true. The only thing that will stop it from firing is if you put the bullet in backwards.
Yeah.
This has been I'm Sorry, brought to you by Simon yet again.
Well, but also, like, this shooting sparked the federal assault weapons ban again. Well, because that was a 1994 ban, and it expired in 2004. It applied to 118 different models and variations of assault weapons.
Because the Uzi was everywhere. When we were kids, remember going into the dollar stores and the toy guns? If you looked at all the toy guns, all of them were Uzis.
Yeah.
They were all Uzis.
Yep. Apparently that didn't go anywhere. So
didn't.
No, it didn't.
The most proactive that has happened in this regard is that places like Walmart, as evil as they are, removed their gun sales.
Yeah, and that's about it.
If you want to see a scrutinizing human being, go into a gun store.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There should be other things in place. It shouldn't be on them.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's segue. We are going to talk about the gunman himself. He was 29. He was a U.S. citizen born in New York in 1986. Oh, Lord, he's my age.
Yeah.
Or was my age. His parents moved to New York from Afghanistan in the 1980s, and eventually the family relocated to Point St. Lucia.
It's either Lucia or Lucia, depending on which culture named it.
Google says Lucy.
All hail Google.
All hail Google. And then his last known residence was in Fort Pierce, and that was about a 2-hour drive from Orlando.
Okay.
Investigators said Mateen legally purchased the 2 weapons he used at Pulse. So yeah, he got the weapons in Port St. Lucie in the week before the attack. A 3rd weapon was found in his vehicle. I don't know what it was. According to public records, Mateen had possessed a valid firearm license since September 2011, and he was also licensed to be a security officer, working mostly for the global security company G4S, where he'd been employed since 2007.
Oh, good old G4S.
I don't know what that is.
G4S is a security company that they do contract work with businesses and other things. Basically, if you need a security group for your operations, they send out security guards. They'll help set up a security program there.
Okay, here's the thing. According to the FBI director, James Comey, Mateen had been investigated in 2013.
Comey, chameleon.
And again in 2014. So he was on the FBI watch list twice.
Yep.
Before this happened.
It's almost like somebody was using the internet incorrectly.
One of those sparked a 10-month inquiry that sought anything tying him to more substantial threats, like terrorism. He was placed on the watch list then. He was taken off of the watch list when the case was closed in March 2014. In July 2014, they looked at him again.
Why was that young man being watched?
They investigated anyone with possible ties to Monar Mohammed Abu Salah, which was a U.S. citizen from Florida who blew himself up in a 2014 suicide attack in Syria. No ties of consequence were found, and so they, again, closed it and cleared it. Now, Mateen was married twice. He had a 3-year-old son. His father condemned the attack. He said, "I apologize for what my son did. I don't know why he did it. He is dead, so I can't ask him. I wish I knew." His father said his son had become angered recently at the sight of 2 men kissing. Multiple media outlets reported that some Pulse regulars recognized Mateen and said he had frequented the nightclub as a patron. vetting, I would think, is why he frequented it.
Could be.
At least 2 men said they interacted with Mateen on a gay dating app.
Oh my goodness, that angry closet is about to come up pretty quick.
Okay, but that is just what they said. The FBI had found no evidence so far to support those claims by those who said that he had gay lovers or communicated on any gay dating apps. I will tell you his first marriage ended in divorce. His ex-wife, Satora, said he was an abusive husband. His second wife, Noor Salman, might have known about her husband's plans to target Pulse before he did it and kind of like helped him prep for the attack. She actually went on trial. Although he claimed allegiance to ISIS, he also said during his 911 conversation that the Svarnev brothers who attacked the Boston Marathon in 2012 were his, quote, homeboys.
Yeah, I heard that. That's what I was talking about. He put himself in the same room.
Yeah. So there was patients, when all this was said and done, who were suffering wounds to the chest, pelvis, extremities, abdomen. They began flooding into emergency rooms shortly after 2 a.m. The wounded were brought in by, quote, the truckloads and ambulance loads, according to doctors. So much blood was lost that the hospital exhausted its entire medical supply of blood. More had to be brought in from nearby hospitals, and operating rooms were cleaned hastily between surgeries in about 1 minute, again and again and again and again, over and over.
The morbid thing about assault rifle rounds, they're high velocity. Have you ever seen one?
I have seen one, yeah.
Because they're rounds, the bullet is ridiculously tiny.
Yeah.
In all major, like barring an AK, which still shoots horse bullets at full velocity.
Yeah.
The problem with high velocity rounds is, yes, it is a tiny bullet. If you're up close, that's more than likely how that one survivor managed to live.
Yeah.
He was up close. The bullet was traveling at full speed.
Right.
Which meant it didn't have a chance to slow.
Exactly.
If you're at the lethal range of that round, what happens is when that bullet goes inside of you, for those of you who don't know, brace yourself, gory, when it hits, it cavitates. All of the energy of the if you are unfortunate enough for the bullet to stop in you, it will do far more damage because it will stop and all of its remaining energy will be transferred directly into that one spot outward. When the bullet hits, if it comes to a stop in your body, all remaining energy from the velocity transfers outward into a spherical pattern.
Right.
This is called cavitation.
Yeah. And
when it does that, it basically makes a bubble where there isn't supposed to be one.
Right.
It's like having a micro grenade in your body. So that one man probably survived because he was in such close proximity.
Too close.
And this man was such a fucking idiot that he didn't even know how his own bullets operated.
And the weird thing is that gun sales actually increased in the days following the massacre.
They always do.
A Florida congressional candidate announced a contest on Facebook to give away an AR-15. Do you remember that? I remember that.
I do.
And I was like, are you serious right now? 11 days after the attack, Pulse's owner hosted a Latin night street party for employees, patrons, and friends with music blaring and a dance floor in the restaurant parking lot. Around 1,000 people showed up. Quote, "It's not a party really, but I feel happy to see everyone," end quote. The section of Orlando's Orange Avenue near Pulse was reopened for business not long after. And traffic,
hell, they were on Orange Avenue?
Yeah, they were on Orange Avenue. And
listen, that is the place to party.
As of my sources, it said that the club had remained closed for a while, the club itself. I don't know. It's probably reopened by now.
I don't know, actually.
But I don't know for sure. So here's the thing with the shooter's wife, Noor. Okay, so she went to trial because they suspected her of helping her husband prepare for the attack. So there was kind of like this thing where the prosecutors were trying to paint her as this like monster that helped him and was a terrorist and all this stuff. And then the defense attorneys were trying to paint her as this abused woman that had a lot of domestic problems. She herself was raised in Southern California by her parents who immigrated to the U.S. from the West Bank in 1985. A family spokesperson said that she had 3 sisters and that her father, who died in 2006, owned a liquor store in California. In her first and only public comment, She told The Times that she met Mateen in 2011 on an internet dating site called Arab Lounge. They married within the same year, culminating in a second marriage for both of them. He had a previous son who was 5 at the time. So her connection to a violent and gruesome crime surprised her family. Some who knew her just couldn't believe that she would ever be a part of any of that. Her cousin said that she was very, quote, childlike in manner, as a quiet, sweet, gentle soul.
You hear that all the time in any...
I know.
Post readings of anyone.
I know. So she did write a confession. Selman wrote that she knew of her husband's plans to open fire in the gay nightclub, and that she had accompanied her husband while scouting Pulse and other targets like Eve, which was a club 5 minutes away, or Disney Springs, which was an outdoor complex at the Walt Disney World Resort.
Mm-hmm.
She said, quote, "I wish I would have done the right thing, but my fear and reality was holding me back." The end of the document says, quote, "I'm very sorry I lied to the FBI. These are my words." So her lawyer argued that the confession was coerced, obviously.
Well, like I said, it escalated from domestic terrorism to terrorism.
Yeah. So, they said that it was a false confession, and that's what was their defense. Proving that Mateen's motivations was terrorism and not personal hatred toward a specific group is not essential to justify a federal terrorism charge in this case. They're both it's all terrorism.
It usually is.
Yeah, it's all terrorism. Nor the wife was actually acquitted of all charges in 2018. I know you wanted to talk about something.
One thing will stand out to me in a way that then unfolds dramatically and speculatively. Mm-hmm. But this one is just easy because it's a personal issue that I have.
Okay.
In describing the bits of information here on Omar and his reactions to certain things, and specifically picking the club. See, most folks don't have to worry too often on a standard dating site that somebody is literally hunting you.
Yeah, well...
Most people don't have to worry about that.
You should be aware, though.
That being said,
there are hunters.
Everybody should.
Yeah.
It's women especially in any straight dating site.
Especially.
Ladies, please protect yourselves mentally and physically as well. As I said earlier, it's super easy to get a gun.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, but on a standard dating site, people have to watch out for your average serial killer or serial rapist.
Yeah.
In the queer community, you have to watch out for that. And you have to watch out for Johnny Backwoods, who is doing this to bait you for the purpose of murdering you for some wackadoodle fucking bullshit. That the last thing that you live through is someone just defiling everything you hold true. It's a nightmare situation. Yeah. The angry closet, it's not a phrase you're going to find anywhere. There's actually a term for it. I just don't remember it because I'm pissed right now at the story. But it's where you've literally, all your life, you've been raised with a what is real, what is true, what is good and bad. And yet you feel a different way than what is told to you.
Right.
So you grow up in your formative years denying those feelings and inwardly hating yourself for them.
Because you're supposed to.
And
that's what you're supposed to do.
And you're willing to beat it out of yourself in a way that is detrimental to yourself and others. It can result in some horrifying things, and generally the mistreatment of other people.
You are literally angry at yourself for being a thing that you were told not to be.
And yet all these other people are being that which
they're being
deep
that thing
down you
and
know
they're happy.
You are, and
yeah.
they're happy. And you know they're not supposed to be happy because it's a dark and evil thing. It's terrible, and not everybody who is in that barricaded closet is ever capable of looking out of it. Also, I pay my taxes. I pay my taxes. I mow my lawn. I'm nice to my neighbors.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck who my partner is in this case, as long as they're legal? That's what matters.
Yeah. And of legal age is what you mean.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what I'm getting at, which is the other thing that has to be stated, because that's where a lot of these jerk-offs get the idea, is because to them, this is equatable, homosexuality or queerness in any way, shape, or form is equatable to pedophilia.
Yeah. And it's not even.
It's not
even anywhere close.
That's its own human nightmare.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you're trying not to bring religion into it, and I respect that. But I do want to just say that those are the same people who read their book that says it's okay for them to marry an 11-year-old.
I was waiting for the host because we already went on gun control. I already just said something incredibly in support of my rainbow brethren and sistren and themins. Like, I'll say right now that it really is. It's like you can't not include it.
It's totally fine for you to marry and have sexual relations with an 11-year-old, but homosexuality is a sin.
Yeah, you see, that's the actual messed up part, too, because the original version of Leviticus that everybody likes to quote all the time, that part was about being with a child. Mm-hmm. And then it was edited.
I know which one you're talking about.
Thank you, Nicaea. Thank you, James.
Yeah, the one that is thou shalt not lay with man
is an abomination.
It was mistranslated.
It was purposefully translated.
It was mistranslated. The original translation was that you aren't supposed to have sex with children.
Correct.
With boys. Boys was the correct translation. And it meant children.
Yes.
Not another man.
Yeah.
Another consenting adult.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll that could be a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other podcast, and I'm sorry for this, but my rainbow was set to blast radius whenever you invited me for this one, and it is a very strong rainbow that I protect a lot of people underneath.
Well, I mean, I feel like if I'm going to talk about it, it's important to get... So I have a lot of friends and family, but I am not. And even though I understand empathy, I will never understand. So I feel like it is important that if I have someone that I can talk to that has lived it, then why wouldn't I?
No, absolutely.
Invite you on the show.
That's the only reason I'm talking about these things too, because I'm a survivor of the angry closet. Yeah. I grew up thinking that entirely. Mm-hmm. To the point of using the hate speech, to the point of judging in that regard.
Yeah.
And then several hurtful attempts on my, sorry for catharsis, but several hurtful attempts on my own life. Mm-hmm. Later, a very nice boyfriend, and suddenly you find yourself in one of those moments with your forehead in your hand going, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
I have grown up knowing so many people who have actually successfully come out of the closet, and that is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things that I've seen so many people who have done it and never will also because of their circumstance.
Yeah, and I think sometimes with certain people, I think it's self-denial. I have several friends who came out in their late teens, early 20s, and when they came out, we were just like, yeah, we know. We've known since you were 12 years old.
Exactly.
We've known that. You don't have to say that to us.
But the truth...
But it's self-denial.
It is.
It's living in that kind of...
Those moments of coming out to people who absolutely know you, who are like, great, that doesn't get you out of doing the dishes.
Exactly.
Well, those are your true family. But at the same time, it's absolutely important. That realm of self-denial is what leads down the path of things like this.
Exactly.
Now, that being said, this is all angry speculation on my part about this Yahoo.
That's fine. We have already read the facts.
Hate crimes are a absolute nuclear button for me.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other wonderful reasons to hate a human being. They're all your actions.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Here's the thing. Who you are and everything else like that. No. That has nothing to do with why I hate you. I hate you because you're a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. You're horrible to people. You're horrible to animals. You're horrible to the postman. You made a child cry on purpose. That's a good reason to hate a human being. You know me. I'm a historical nerd. I grew up knowing how to utilize an axe like a deranged barbarian well before I ever suddenly thought, there are people with guns out there who would kill me and my loved ones, all because I happen to think men are as attractive as women, and that there is a even better rainbow out there of people who don't identify.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody, by the way, to have the knowledge and capability of defending themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If they can do it, so can you.
And that seems to be where we're landing at.
Yeah.
It's because I know that some of you out there are like, they're going to take our guns. That's never going to happen.
It isn't, because that's the point of this case.
That's never, it's just never going to happen. Yeah. So the best you can do is
to learn to defend yourself.
However you feel comfortable doing that. We are going to talk about, and this is something that I found out. I shit you not. I found this out while I was researching this case.
What do we got?
Did not know this. You probably knew this, but I am ignorant. Again, as I said, I did not know this. So we're going to talk about hate crime laws for a second.
Oh, yes.
46 states and the District of Columbia enacted hate crime penalty enhancement laws, meaning that if someone commits a crime based on a victim's personal characteristics, they can face severe penalties. However, I did not know that this is not a federal level mandated law. This is per state.
Yep.
They let the states choose their own hate crime laws. I did not know that. And so all of them are very different across all the states. For instance, and this is the one that I was talking about I didn't know about. So Oklahoma does have hate crime laws. However, there are two things that are specifically not mentioned in them. One is sexual orientation. The other is gender identity.
Yep.
Basically, in Oklahoma, if you are called slurs, beaten, assaulted, anything like that because of your sexual orientation or your gender identity, it does not fall under a hate crime in Oklahoma.
Correct.
That is fucking mind-blowing. How? So then I was like, okay, well, now I need to know about all the states. So in California, for instance, everything's covered. Everything is covered.
And the California ones, if I'm not mistaken, there's also room to grow in case new shit is made up.
Exactly.
People will always find brand new ways to hate people specifically.
So you have laws about police training and those states that include gender identity, then sexual orientation, race, religion, ethnicity, and then disability.
I'm gonna bet on one state in particular that I can think of up the top of my head that probably has none of those.
Okay.
Is it Utah?
So you're close because I believe that up until the last couple of years, Utah had 0 hate crime laws. Now it is Arkansas, Wyoming, and South Carolina have zero hate crime laws. None. There's no such thing as a hate crime in those states. That blows my mind. These are the only states that have sexual orientation covered in their hate crime laws. Oklahoma does not.
Of course not.
The odd thing, though, is that Texas does cover sexual orientation.
Oh, that's because there are a lot of very fantastically rich queer people in Texas.
Good for them.
What's this? You can be gay and work in the oil industry? Yes, you can.
Others that do not include sexual orientation are North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. Then the states that do include gender identity. Texas, Arkansas does not. South Dakota does not. The ones that do, Tennessee, Georgia actually includes it.
That's surprising.
I know. Louisiana and Mississippi actually include it, which is.
Louisiana makes sense. Mississippi, though. Wow.
I know.
That good. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. Good job, Mississippi.
Well, and there's also states that still do not include disability in their hate crime laws.
Oh, I know that.
And some of those states are Kansas.
Good old Kansas.
Kentucky. Ohio, I'm just like these are just random ones that I'm throwing out that don't. Tennessee does include disability. Oklahoma, of course, includes disability. 31 states consider hate crimes on the basis of disability. And 31 states consider hate crimes on the basis of gender identity. 31 states that consider hate crimes on the basis of sexual orientation. Now, I want to state all of those are not the same state.
Correct.
So they each have varying ones. So, yeah, it kind of blows my mind.
We were following the hate crime information, my friends and I, shortly after the Pulse.
Yeah.
And because that's when it became a hot topic again.
Yes. If anything would happen or not, if they would change anything or not.
Yeah. Well, it's like you wait till they release the announcement about it, and then it's like, then go look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The federal government mandates in all editorials that states have to control this themselves.
Yeah. Why? That's just so dumb. It's so dumb. Talking about stuff changing and stuff like that, I know that Georgia did not have hate crime laws at all.
Nope.
Until 2020.
Yeah, that's because that's when the report was released that they were the number one in the country for a lot of angry violence against the queer community.
And not to mention the black community.
Oh, yeah.
Because they actually enacted their hate crime laws right after the death of Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, it just blew my mind that there were still states that don't cover everything, that didn't have any at all, that, like, I just didn't know that was a thing. It's hard for my brain to comprehend. Like, it's really hard for me to comprehend that we are literally living in 2022, and there are 3 fucking states that don't have hate crime laws.
Abortion laws.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
know. It's 2022, and here we are.
Not to push any buttons, it falls under the same category.
Yeah.
I prefer to put the whole thing as human autonomy.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing is wrong growing up in the heartland until you find out it is.
I know. And it's like doing this podcast, now that I have so many different people coming in, I'm seeing so many different views, and so many different ways of life, and I'm researching so many different things. There are literally things I'm finding out. I am 35, almost 36 years old.
Exactly.
And I am just finding these things out.
Nobody talks about these things here. Nobody brings these things up.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, right? That's the thing I was talking about. Why?
How did I not know? And this is a big reason why I have a podcast. Because I find something out and I go, how did I not know this?
Yeah.
And then I immediately go to, how many people can I tell? Where do I need to stand on a mountain to shout this?
Exactly.
Because people need to know. They need to know what happened at Pulse and why it happened. Not just what happened, but why it happened.
And that's the problem with that one, too, is just that there are thousands of Reddits and subgroups out there that still talk about Pulse.
Yeah.
Because of just that. There is no clear answer on that one.
Yeah.
Was he just deranged? Was he hateful? Was he jilted? What was he?
We don't know.
Well, the only thing we do know is, once again, that he was an asshole.
I want to talk about the One Pulse Foundation. It's a foundation that was established to create a sanctuary of hope following the tragic day of June 12th, 2016, to honor the 49 people who died that day.
I think I've heard of these folks.
Yeah, the 68 others who were injured that day, and the countless first responders and healthcare professionals who treated them. So the fund is intended to support a memorial that opens hearts, a museum that opens minds, educational programs that open eyes, and legacy scholarships that open doors. Contributions from generous individuals, foundations, corporations, and government entities directly support all of the National Pulse Memorial and Museum design, construction, land acquisition costs, operations, community education programs, and 49 legacy scholarships. So this is a defining mission and healing initiative that they hope inspires supporters who share their vision and understand the solemn and sacred responsibility to which the community has been entrusted. It gives out scholarships annually, each up to $10,000, to use at an accredited institution for higher learning, including career and technical schools, which I think is amazing, since I have so many technical school people around me. One Pulse also considers many factors when assessing scholarship applicants, including the applicant's personal story, their financial need or independence, strong academic or self-improvement interests, and proven track record of leadership, community involvement, and or work experience. I'll say this, they do give preference to applicants who have immediate family who were a victim of the Pulse shooting.
That's understandable.
Yeah, totally understandable. So you can find them at onepulsefoundation.org.
That's pretty cool. Now, I'd heard of the organization. I didn't know that they set up they set up a scholarship.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. What I want to do for you, and I hope that you take the time to listen and don't just skip forward. We are going to read off the names of the 49 victims.
Stanley Almodovar III, 23 years old.
Amanda Alvier, 25 years old.
Oscar A. Aracena Montero, 26 years old.
Rodolfo Ayala, 33 years old.
Antonio Devon Brown, 29 years old.
Daryl Roman Burt II, 29 years old.
Angel Candelario Padro, 28 years old.
Juan Chavez Martinez, 25 years old.
Luis Daniel Conda, 39 years old.
Corey James Connell, 21 years old.
Tevin Eugene Crosby, 25 years old.
Deonka Deidre Drayton, 32 years old.
Simon Adrian Carrillo Fernandez, 31 years old.
Leroy Valentine Fernandez, 25 years old.
Mercedes Marisol Flores, 26 years old.
Peter Omi Gonzalez Cruz, 22 years old.
Juan Ramon Guerrero, 22 years old.
Paul Terrell Henry, 41 years old.
Frank Hernandez, 27 years old.
Miguel Angel Honorato, 30 years old.
Javier Jorge Reyes, 40 years old.
Jason Benjamin Josephat, 19 years old.
Eddie Jamoldroy Justice, 30 years old.
Anthony Luis Lorino Disla, 25 years old.
Christopher Andrew Leononen, 32 years old.
Alejandro Barrios Martinez, 21 years old.
Brenda Marquez McCool, 49 years old.
Gilberto R. Silva Menendez, 25 years old.
Kimberly Jean Morris, 37 years old.
Akira Monet Murray, 18 years old.
Luis Omar Ocasio Capo, 20 years old.
Geraldo A. Ortiz Jimenez, 25 years old.
Eric Ivan Ortiz Rivera, 36 years old.
Joel Rayon Paniagua, 32 years old.
Giancarlos Mendez Perez, 35 years old.
Enrique L. Rios Jr., 25 years old.
Giancarlos Nieves Rodriguez, 27 years old.
Xavier Emmanuel Serrano Rosado, 35 years old.
Christopher Joseph Sanfeliz, 24 years old.
Gil Mary Rodriguez Solevan, 24 years old.
Edward Sotomayor Jr., 34 years old.
Shane Evan Tomlinson, 33 years old.
Martin Benitez Torres, 33 years old.
Jonathan A. Camuy Vega, 24 years old.
Juan Pablo Rivera Velasquez, 37 years old.
Luis Sergio Vielma, 22 years old.
Frankie Jimmy De Jesus Velasquez, 50 years old.
Luis Daniel Wilson Leon, 37 years old.
Gerald Arthur Wright, 31 years old. Rest in peace, folks. You've reached the end of our episode. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Join Raven next time on the Sirens Podcast.
Do we have an outro? That's our outro, isn't it?